A nurse from Coppell said if it wasn't for a zipline excursion being rescheduled, she and others would not have been there to save a family after a plane crash.
It happened this weekend where Tammy Saunders and a group from Grapevine Faith Christian School witnessed a small plane crashing into a river. They acted fast to pull out a mother, father, and infant boy. Fox 4's Peyton Yeager spoke with a nurse and another man who helped rescue the family. Peyton.
Steve, and the plane went down in a very remote area. It's a small town called Glacier View, nearly 2 hours away from Anchorage, Alaska. First responders are 45 minutes to an hour away, but a school administrator from North Texas, a retired school nurse from North Texas, an Alaskan tour guide, and a group of strangers, they jumped into action and responded in seconds.
Every nurse I know and have always worked with would have done the same thing.
Yep.
Without hesitating.
I love that.
It's so
There was
true.
no hesitation.
North
Brett?
Texas
I think
nurse
about that,
Tammy
Dave.
Saunders and administrator John Brooks from Grapevine Faith Christian School found themselves in the middle of a nerve-wracking rescue. Both are chaperones on a 2-week leadership trip with high schoolers in Alaska.
So we've got students that we're trying to prepare for life. And it doesn't get more real than life when life is on the brink there.
Saturday afternoon, the group went ziplining when a plane began circling low. Shortly after it disappeared behind the trees, they heard the crash.
That's when I was like, does anyone have any medical training? And that poor nurse just raised her hand. She was like, I'm a nurse. I was like, come with me.
Brett Winterbottom was working the zip lines that day. In shock, he and Saunders spotted a mother, a father, and their 7-month-old baby floating down the Matanuska River on an airplane tire. The plane was in pieces. Winterbottom tied a rope around his waist and began wading into the 35-degree water. The child's father, Logan, was in the middle of the swift current.
Logan was holding the baby above the water. Enzo is baby's name. But once it broke apart and he was so weak, he just went into the water with the baby.
Winterbottom grabbed baby Enzo, passed him off to Saunders, and then went back to pull the father onto the bank.
And at the time, I didn't know if Enzo was breathing. He was blue and he was cold and he was unconscious.
Enzo's mother was able to swim to the opposite shoreline on her own. Saunders quickly wrapped baby Enzo up in blankets while stabilizing his neck. He appeared to have a serious head injury. Finally, Enzo began to cry and opened his eyes. More than an hour later, first responders arrived and transported the family to the hospital. We love you, Enzo. Get well soon. Grapevine Faith Christian sent baby Enzo this message. The group continuing their trip, one that couldn't have had better timing.
You could have a month and not be able to stage it as perfect as it was staged. And it happened like that.
The mother and the father, they were in the hospital for about a day. They were released, but they are still there because baby Enzo was still there. He was in the ICU for a few days, but we got word he's out of the ICU. He's still in the hospital, but he's recovering with his parents.